All right, welcome to the second video, first review of the evening in Centipede Gun. Centipede Gun is a creature building roguelike inspired by games such as Snurks and Flurp, which I'm not convinced are real things,
No,
where you can, I mean,
I get you.
they sound fake,
It sounds like something
don't they?
they put on a fake game for a show or something.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah. Where you can create the most unusual living beings by combining different forms, skills, and guns? Right, so we got the Nintendo Switch version of this. So over to Petty Fan for the details.
All right. So this is a automatic shooting type game akin to like Vampire Survivors. I'm pretty sure if I started naming them off, we would be here all week. But yeah, you play as this little guy on here called the Centipede, I guess. I don't know if he actually has a name, but the little smiling dude. And you basically just need to survive. You have 15 rounds. Um, and you get various different types of weaponry. The the weird conceit with there are two weird conceits with this game. Number one is the controls. It controls kind of like an RC car, where your left stick controls your forward and back. Your right stick controls your turning. If this was an actual RC car, where the remote had guiding rails to help you keep everything in line, that would be great. The problem is the Switch does not have that. So if you go too far out of, I guess, what it considers the dead zone, maybe, it just won't read your input. So you could be a little askew, not quite noticing where you are, trying to turn or something, and your character will do nothing. Or like if you're trying to turn and move, you could be walking straight into enemies. So that's a problem. Um, your Each round you go to a shop, you get the gold squares in the bubbles are money. You typically get three things from the shop. I imagine there are probably upgrades for more. I didn't get far enough to see if that is true or not. Um, but just looking at the menu, it looks like there's space to add two more options. So I'm just going off of that. Um, each of the various um dots. I don't know if they have a name for the little things you put on the dude. Segments, maybe. They each do different things, ranging from a trail behind you, adding a bleeding effect, critical damage, more health drops, you know, just a whole bunch of different things. Um, it is a game over if your little smiling guy in the middle dies, but you can lose your parts and they will regenerate between rounds. Um, the shooting, the little faint circle you see around me is supposed to be your attack range, but it's very arbitrary about when it wants to read, or like when it wants to read if something's in range. I've had it attack at things outside the range. I have had things come all the way up into my face and it's still not um initiate an attack. Um you do get the option to check what little segment things you have on you, and you can sell things to keep yourself under the 10 unit limit. So there is that. Getting up to the 15, there are elite and I guess pseudo boss fights as you go along. I think it's every 5 level or 5 rounds. Um, the music is very rock esque. Like it's using like I can hear an actual guitar, not like MIDI instruments throughout. But it sounds like they're like weaving in like video game sound effects into the actual instrumentals. The game is all right. I'm not a big fan of the controls, and they actually put me out of this. I imagine if I was playing this on a keyboard where I could use strictly the arrow keys, this would be less infuriating. Um, with the units, if you get two of the same one, you can either put it on there separately to make an additional unit, or you can stack it and level it up. I I don't have any idea on math wise how much it is, how beneficial it is to have two instances of a thing versus leveling them up. That's way outside my wheelhouse, friends. That's some min maxing that oh god. Um, Even if you lose all of your bits, you aren't defenseless. You have a basic shot. It just doesn't do that much damage because obviously they want you to have parts on you. And like you can see here, I'm at the elite enemy part, and it's just a purple circle. There's a lot of very simple art in this game. So for better or for worse, and I keep wanting to try and turn with the joystick. Honestly, if they gave me a simplified control option where I could just do all the walking around with a single joystick instead of having to try and do two, this game would be infinitely better. But trying to split it between two joysticks, it doesn't help. It doesn't really make the game better,
That
in
might
my
have been
opinion.
too easy.
I mean, at the same time, Devil Survivor or Vampire Survivor, you literally only need to use the one joystick to move around.
Yeah, fair. I feel like they didn't use the literal tank controls lightly.
I guess, but at the same time, there's a way you can make this better without just making going lull bad controls. But again, it's also a balancing act of doing enough to keep you engaged versus trying to force engagement through maddening controls. That is definitely a topic way outside of our wheelhouse. And I'm pretty sure that involves a philosophical debate that we're not having here. Um, after you beat an elite mark, you get a meta progression option, so you can increase your physical defense, have one more life, more attack range, more damage. You know, and then this is sometimes there are effects that can cause you problems if you don't put them on correctly, like this bullet breaker. If you put it in front of one of your guns, the gun doesn't work. It jams it. So that's an interesting thing. I wish it did a better job of explaining how it could detrimentally affect you, because I did not know that was a thing. and that did screw me over on a run. But yeah, I think that's it on what I have to say. Adam, what are we looking at price-wise?
So here's the thing. We have a split publisher situation. That is to say, the Switch version is retailing for $4.99, and the Steam version is going for $2.99.
$2.99 is probably the perfect price for this. Again, my biggest issue with the Switch version is the controls. If I had the option to just use something that isn't free-flowing joysticks, I would be much happier here. And yeah, I guess I should also mention there is a actual leaderboard, not just an actual online leaderboard, not just like one of those faux leaderboards that's just on the device.
Or local.
Yes. Yeah, local is probably a more apt way to put that, yes. And yeah, it does have cross-play leaderboards as well, so you can go global, you can go friends, cross-play on or off. So yeah, it goes weekly, monthly, and then just total. So if this is your interest, there is stuff here. I don't know if there's enough for me. I don't think there's enough to make it worth the $5 on Switch. But for a couple bucks, it could be interesting, especially on like a Steam Deck, you know, another one of those games where I got a couple minutes, or, I got a couple minutes to burn while I'm waiting for something, be it laundromat, doctor's office, what have you. It's definitely not something I'd put a lot of hours into at one time. It's very much a short time fill, not a long epic that I will have 100 hours in by the end of the week. And yeah, any more questions or comments from you guys?
No, I think I've said what I wanted to say.
I
All
think
right.
I'm good, yeah.
Alrighty then.
All right, so that'll about do it for Centipede Gun. Be sure to tune in after the break as the Galax reviews Ghostmaster Resurrection.